Hey, this will be part 2 of my two-part series on gun control in Canada and how it compares to the United States. If you know nothing about guns, this is really going to open your eyes on the laws that already exist here in Canada and how they apply and how they're different from the United States and actually how well they work. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Hey, so welcome back. Thanks for joining me here on Look Left and Right. So in my last video on this, I took you through my personal journey of getting my license and my very first firearm and what I had found out. And this one we're going to dive deep into the actual data on how the Canadian system and the American system are different and how each one of them working. And I think by the end you're going to see how well our country is doing when it comes to gun control. So let's get on it. Requirements for gun ownership in both the United States and in Canada. In Canada, you have to be at least 18 years of age. You need your possession and acquisition license. If it's a restricted firearm that you're purchasing, you need to be registered to a gun club. And again, if it's a restricted firearm, it has to be registered with the RCMP. Because in the United States, the majority of the gun laws implemented are done by the state, the requirements for purchasing a firearm in the states varies wildly. It goes from the much more loose gun laws of places like Texas and Florida to the much more strict gun laws like California and Massachusetts. In fact, Massachusetts gun laws start to mimic Canada's in a lot of ways. And because of those gun laws, they have noticed a reduction in homicide and suicide rates. Can you carry a gun? Up here in Canada, generally, no, you can't. You would have to apply to the court of law, and you would need to prove that your life is in imminent danger or jeopardy. And you would get a special permit. Other than that, unless you're law enforcement or it's part of your job, and again you'd have to apply for it, you cannot carry a gun in Canada. In the United States, however, all 50 of the states permit concealed carry, and all but 5 allow open carry. The requirements for it vary greatly, and it is totally dependent on the state. What exactly is a machine gun? Put simply, a machine gun is a fully automatic weapon. In other words, all you have to do is hold the trigger down and the gun will continue to shoot until all the cartridges are spent and it is empty. Contrary to popular belief, the AR-15 is not a machine gun. It is a semi-automatic rifle. Furthermore, the AR in the AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite. It is an Armalite 15. In 1978, all machine guns in Canada were banned, and all existing machine guns that were privately owned had to be made inoperative. In 1986 in the United States, the sale of new machine guns was banned. However, existing machine guns were allowed to stay. To date, there is just under 700,000 registered machine guns in the United States. In 1993, the Canadian government put restrictions on the size of magazines for both handguns and semi-automatic rifles, including assault weapons. For handguns, it was 10 rounds. For semi-automatic rifles and assault guns, it was 5. In the United States, however, there are no such restrictions. In fact, the moratorium on high-capacity magazines has ended, and they are once again available in the United States. So first we'll talk about what is probably the most impactful gun crime, and that is the mass shooting. Whether we're talking about the 1989 mass shooting at Polytechnique, to the Las Vegas mass shooting, to the recent mass shooting in Nova Scotia, Canada, where 22 people lost their lives. So in Canada, from 2005 to 2022, there was a total of 3 mass shooting events. In the United States, there was 91. Okay, let's look at the homicide rate for both of these countries. And for the purpose of this video, we're only going to look at homicides that are gun-related. So in Canada in 2020, there were 277 homicides contributed to a firearm in the whole country. In the United States, there was 19,384 homicides as a result of a firearm. Percentage-wise, the amount of homicides by firearm in Canada represent about 37% of all homicides. In the United States, it's 79%. So I'm not going to sit here and claim that gun control alone accounts for the discrepancy in these numbers. Obviously, socially, the two countries are very, very different, but it absolutely plays a major factor. The first question I always get asked when I tell people that I went and got my firearms license is, why? Well, the standard answers are hunting, sport and competition, because there are gun competitions, recreation, and fun. It is actually fun to fire a firearm. And then there's the major elephant in the room. It is the one thing that you do not put on your firearms application because you will be guaranteed not to get your license. And that is home defense. Even though home defense with a gun by law in Canada is legal, it is frowned upon by the RCMP. And the RCMP are the ones who are handing out the license. And home defense up here in Canada is quite different than home defense in the United States. In the United States, they follow something that's called the Castle Doctrine. And it essentially means that if somebody trespasses on your property, you are well within your rights to use deadly force to stop them without fear of prosecution. In Canada, however, we are allowed to use force to protect our home, but we can only use enough force that is necessary or reasonable. And that's the kicker. There have been dozens and dozens of instances up here in Canada where a homeowner has been charged for using his firearm in defense of his property. Doesn't even necessarily mean that he shot anybody. We've had people charged up here for simply shooting a warning shot to ward off potential criminals. The majority of the time these charges are dropped, but not without the homeowner having to get a lawyer and go through legal proceedings. In my opinion, this is completely 100% wrong, and it takes away any responsibility from the criminal. In my opinion, if a criminal steps on your property with bad intent, they've given up a lot of their rights. They shouldn't be there. If they weren't there, they wouldn't be in danger of you protecting your property. This is one area where Canada's got it wrong. The police simply can't be everywhere at once. In my city of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the police have set benchmarks for priority 1 calls, priority 1 being life in immediate danger. They have set a benchmark of 7 minutes. In the downtown core, they can reach that benchmark around 84% of the time. Down in the southwest of my city, they are reaching that benchmark roughly 46% of the time. But even in 7 minutes, 7 minutes is an eternity when someone's trying to break into your home. So we need just to rely on ourselves. And we need to be given the laws that allow us to rely on ourselves. So right after the mass shooting in Nova Scotia, the Liberal government introduced a ban on assault rifles, banning roughly 1,500 assault rifles. Now you have to ask yourself, what's the difference between an assault rifle and a regular hunting rifle? And the answer is, one looks different. One's black. One looks like a machine gun. But the two rifles do the exact same thing. Up here in Canada, as I've mentioned, magazines for rifles are limited to 5. That's both assault rifles and regular rifles. Both a regular hunting rifle can be a semi-automatic. Assault rifles are semi-automatic. Both the guns can shoot the same caliber of bullet or cartridge. They're essentially the same gun. One just looks like a machine gun. Now, the Liberal government is proposing a ban on handguns. And they're proposing to spend almost $1 billion on a buyback program for handguns and assault rifles. It's $1 billion taxpayer dollars. Question is, will it have any effect on violent gun crime in Canada? Because believe me, handgun violence has gone up in this country. So, I did a lot of research into this, and what I discovered was there's a ton of experts out there that actually say that this proposed gun ban, C-21, will absolutely have zero effect on the amount of gun crime in our cities. And really, let's think about it for a second. The bill that is being proposed by the Liberal government is going after licensed, registered firearm owners. Now, what we do know about licensed and registered firearm owners is they go through a very vigorous application process where they are vetted by the RCMP, and then once they get their license, that they go through a automatic criminal check every single day. Stats show that the firearm owners are actually less likely, 3 times less likely to commit any type of gun crime than a regular Canadian citizen. So they're going after these registered firearm owners with this bill, but it leaves the criminal element out, because the vast majority of the guns that these criminals are using are coming in from the United States. Upwards of 90%, it's between 80 and 90% of all of all handguns seized in criminal activity can be directly sourced back to the United States. We have this massive border with the United States that is, very open. It makes smuggling these firearms into our country extremely easy. And the criminals obviously are doing this because there's a lot of money to be made in the smuggling of these guns. So, does Bill C-21 actually do anything to make our streets safer? The majority of experts out there say it doesn't. So whether you lean left or you lean right, both sides of the issue want gun control, right? They want the illegal guns off our streets. And we expect our politicians to put forth laws that will bring the illegal guns off our streets and reduce that gun violence. Unfortunately, Bill C-21 isn't it. From what I can tell, Bill C-21 is simply the Liberal government focusing on the fear of the country and pandering to that fear in an attempt to get votes. And we need to ask more of our politicians than that. Justin Trudeau was very prompt to say when it came to COVID-19 that they were following the science, basing their laws on the science. But he's not doing it here. And he knows it. If I can find out, they know it. So that's it, everybody. Thank you for sticking to the end of this video. I hope you found it a little enlightening and that you learned something about the Canadian gun laws. I know that in the last year or half a year I have, and it has completely opened my eyes. And by all means, I encourage you to look for more information. I will be sharing a couple of links in the description of this video to a couple of very good videos on the gun laws here in Canada from people who investigated and know more than I do on this subject. So without further ado, goodbye everybody. Hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day.